Good evening, everyone. I'm Akua Lezli Hope, speaking to you from the ancestral lands of the Onondaga, also known as the Seneca, keepers of the Western Door, in the area currently called the Southern Finger Lakes region of New York State. I pay homage to the Seneca, past, present, and future, as I do to my own ancestors by whose grace I exist and am sustained. We're gathered together from around the world for the second of three readings of the 2022 Rhysling nominated short poems. The Science Fiction and Fantasy Poetry Association presents the annual Rhysling Awards named for the blind poet Rhysling and Robert A. Heinlein's short story, The Green Hills of Earth. Apollo 15 astronauts named a crater near their landing site, Rhysling, which has since become its official name. Nominees for each year's Rhysling Awards are selected by the membership of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Poetry Association. For 2022, 103 short poems and 78 long poems were nominated. This year's anthology was edited by SFPA Secretary Brian F. Garrison and F.J. Bergman. I invite them to say a few words if they'd like before we begin the reading. Brian, FJ?
FJ, why don't you start?
Okay. Well, I've been doing the layout for the Rhysling anthologies for the past 10 years or so, mostly. So it's that part was more of the same. And Brian did most of the heavy lifting with keeping everything organized after we had to take over from Kim when she became ill. So it was more of the same for me, but Brian did all the really hard work, including mailing out the Rhysling anthology, the print version. And thanks a lot for that. I've done it, and it's definitely one of the hardest parts of getting the Rhysling together.
Yeah, well, I guess to some extent, it's just good to see FJ's name on the cover finally after she does tons to keep the SFPA up and running. So we're always appreciative for everything that she's doing. But yeah, it's been an adventure to see all the lovely poems and get to connect with you bit by bit. And, 2 weeks ago, we saw the first batch of the short poems read, and excited to hear the stories keep going and to hear what we'll hear today. And as I start to think about what the selections might be for my own voting. So as you hear other people are reading theirs, think about, hey, is that the one that I want to select for my selection as it moves toward time to vote? Because it is coming up here mid-June for the short poem. So always keep that in mind.
I thank you both enormously for your pinch hitting and for it's a gorgeous anthology. It's well presented, and thank you. So we'll begin with The Frozen North by Marcy Lynn Tenchoff.
Bye. We don't play soccer in the tunnels. Kelly Farrell's ball, it was the last, was eaten by a giant rat last quarter moon. And even on the warmest days, there are a few. The thought of wearing shorts and t-shirts gives me chills. We don't go topside very often. We make brief raids, but not for sport. The once green playing fields are white with frost. The stadium's empty save for when they're housing troops. And other things that live up there, what few are left, do not love us. We don't breathe well without our face masks. We know they can't keep radiation out, no more than parents, those of them still left alive, can keep the bad dreams from our sleep and substitute their tales of sports days long years past for all our fears. But we won't let fear dim our glory or blind us to the memories of what we were before their tri-toned flag topped BC Place, before Nat Bailey Stadium hosted their patrols, before the only Canucks allowed below the Rogers Dome were held in cells. So we play shinny in the sewers, skating over frozen muck on passed down blades. Our sticks, whatever we can't burn. Our pucks, the cans from last night's meal. The cry of tank, our only warning that the enemy's passing overhead may fracture spears of icicles to plummet downwards towards our unbowed heads.
Thank you. Next, Futuristic Funerals by Dante Novario. I don't know if Dante is here. Okay. Then we've got The Galaxies Have Reversed Their Course and Are Hurtling Towards One Another. Andrea Schleck. Then there's Graffiti Goddess by Noel Sloboda. Gravity, Some Things That Fly by Jeffrey A. Landis.
Hello, everybody. Coming a little faster than I expected. Okay, I'm Jeff Landis. The poem is Gravity, Some Things That Fly. It first appeared in Space and Time, recently revived magazine. We live in a world of gravity. Gravity, our constant companion from the instant we wake to the moment we fall asleep. Some things that fly: bees, bats, helicopters. Gravity suffuses our lives. Even when we sleep, gravity enfolds us. Some things that fly: starlings, peacocks, eagles. We can be free only for moments, jumping, falling. But even then, gravity bends our arc ever earthward. Some things that fly: dandelion seeds, autumn leaves, the moon rising through the trees. We cheat gravity with the metal wings of airplanes, with the fabric pillows of parachutes. But even here, gravity is never fooled, not even for an instant. Some things that fly: angels, dragons, ghosts. Wings are a dance with gravity, and there is no dance without the partner. Some things that fly: hopes, hearts, imagination. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Next, Greek by Deborah L. Davitt. Okay, the other Deborah is here, not this one. Hallucinations by Amira Al-Wasif. Heart Tree by John Reinhardt. Home Gravity Physics by Sandra J. Lindau. Holmes Threadnedy by Olayton Humble. And How Date Nights Bring You Ever Closer, A Forbidden Highbun by Terry Lee Ralph.
I am here. This, for those of you who don't know, the Forbidden Highbun was created by Wes Alexander, and he's been tutoring me on the forum. And this was published in last year's horror showcase through the HWA. How Date Nights Bring You Ever Closer. Discovering new ways to bind us together. Illuminated manuscripts. How we replay them over and over again. Classic horror films. New neighbors stop by but never leave. takeout order canceled. Developing a taste for full-bodied wine, metallic overtones. Howling through the night, that moon, that glorious blood moon, death by 1,000 kisses, resurrection. Bathing each other with white oleander soap, evisceration dance.
Thank you so much. Next, How to Find Yourself Again by Beth Cato. In Corfu by Irina Moga. In Memory Yet Green by Alan Ira Gordon. In the Future, We Will Live in Broken Houses, Sandra Casturi. In the Library Annex, Bruce Boston. Ingenuity by Deborah P. Kalaji. Deborah.
Thank you. I'm going to be reading this poem, Ingenuity, which first appeared in Modern Haiku. Ingenuity. I rarely leave the cave these days. Earthlings landed a new rover, this one with a miniature flying robot on top, increasing my chances of being discovered. They've matured, these beings, since I started watching them from here over a millennium ago. One by one, the rest of the team died off. It's been several hundred Martian years without word from the home world. I suspect I'm the last of my kind. I miss my beautiful Mars, empty before the probes started crashing and then landing. My instrumentation is crumbling piece by piece with no one left who can repair it. As my time grows short, I contemplate sealing the entrance so the Earthlings will think they were the first. They'd like that. Red Rock, the wind writes its secrets. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Oh, I got swept away and now I've lost my place. Inheritance by Geneve Flynn. Interrupted Journey, Tim Jones. Light.
Welcome.
Yes, sorry, Tim. I forgot you're here. You are here.
I'm here. Yes, I'm here in a cold, sunny, late autumn morning here in Te Whanganui-a-Tara, Wellington, in New Zealand.
Yay.
And this is, I don't actually, my Rhysling hasn't made it this far yet. This is the book that my poem was published in, a New Zealand anthology. And here we go. Interrupted Journey. Some days he wishes the ship had sailed on southward, leaving Littleton alone, ignoring Banks Peninsula, girding its loins for the Southern Ocean, sailing on until the ice shelf put an end to all such foolishness. They've kitted him out in hat and mittens, this boy, insisted he put on that bright red jacket so he can be seen from miles away, an oscillating dot, chasing seagulls, tripping over tohurua holes. That absent-minded boy, what's he doing now? Approaching, retreating from the water's edge. The Southern Ocean rolls up past Rakiura, sending water decanted from the ice to overtop his gumboots and bear Oreti Beach away. So long as he's happy, they think. They've never really fitted in themselves, never got used to this raw country where chainsaws alternate with silence. A thermos flask, sandwiches, Belgian biscuits, soon they will call him in. He will never stride into the surf, never swim until his arms grow long enough to bear him past the distant specks of shipwreck-haunted rock, to the frozen welcome shore where heroes roam, where the ice mother, the ice father extend their frozen hands. Come with us, they say, to where your ship came in, where within the endless cold, faces from your half-forgotten homeland are pleased to see you, pleased to speak your name. Thank you.
Whoa. That was so wonderful to hear you say these names that are new to me. The Toheroa holes, the Oreti Beach. Thank you, Tim. What time of day is it for you, if I may ask quickly?
To be precise, it's 11:17 a.m.
Oh, nice. Tomorrow.
Saturday, yes, Saturday morning.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Lights Over the Midnight Desert by David C. Kopaska Merkel, who I don't remember seeing. Okay, and Little Black Box, Anna Cates.
Hi, Little Black Box was first published in Liquid Imagination. Little Black Box. Two intergalactic criminals banished to roam an untamed sector of space, tire of Scrabble and crossword puzzles, and fight the final hours with the robot's poetry generator. They leave behind the craft's little black box and an unfinished poem. I'll go first. Dangerous females desire romance. She, a smirk, eternal similes and cryptic signs. He, a brief nod, elaborate allegory, a rendezvous. She, you seem a tad lusty tonight, west of the imagination. He, what's new, pussycat, party with me. Encountering. She, you fiend, that's not much of a line. Flamekeepers. He, a classic metaphor. Gushing strange ironies. She, panting at the edge of time. He, wolves in the fictional woods. She, tame your gremlin. He, in a brave new world. She, with luminous intervals. He, one brow shoots up. Inventions artists provoke mischief. She, divas comprise strange mythology. He, the air's getting thin, 40 are better than 5. She, I smell smoke, faces and figures naked by the window. He, a fuse just burst, the sphere and the labyrinth. She, I never thought I'd die writing poetry, sexuality in space. He, spaghetti and stars. She, the origins of things. He, where gods and mortals meet. Then it ends in binary code, and the literal translation of that binary code is dying.
Wow. I wondered how you were going to render this. Those of you who have the book will see that there are 2 lines, 2 linear presentations of information and experience. And thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Little Red Loves Her Grandma by Pankaj Khemka is next. A Martian Contemplates Earthrise by K.B. Nelson.
Hi.
Hi.
Just a comment about the moons of Mars. Mars has 2 moons. We call them Phobos and Deimos. And Deimos is what we would think of as a normal moon. You see it throughout the night. Phobos goes around like 2.5 times faster. So you actually see them go by twice in a night or more. And Phobos is in a decaying orbit and eventually will crash into Mars. Okay. A Martian contemplates Earthrise. I raise my eyes to our elegant morning star, blue, serene, his bright paramour now far, now close, now in unashamed intimacy. The days pass, the star grows large, grows small, as does his unwavering faith, a commodity perhaps common in the cosmos, but rare and precious in my world. His, Celine's devotion is absent in our own wanton orbiter as she passes overhead beneath her lover's path. Faubage races and laughs while forlorn Timo watches her pass below again and again and again. So fast, so close, a tease to patient Timo and to the spurned and grounded who watch objects of desire with no hope of capture. Scholars tell us, millions of years on, Faubage will be destroyed. Too late for me to enjoy, but it gives me solace, nevertheless.
Thank you. There are so many deeply moving moments, and I so appreciate being able to look at the words and hear you say them as well, everyone. Thank you. Next, Michelangelo carves David into Medusa by Ellie Howard. A Monstrous Life Well Lived by Elizabeth R. McClellan.
This poem appeared in the Girls Who Love Monsters anthology in 2021. A monstrous life well lived for HL, unlikely night of my life. Princess was never gonna work for me, and Prince was right out, which was closer, but no one hands cauldrons to children. But monsters with proper names, Grendel and Adam and Scylla and Medusa, monsters without, Talipo and Tarrasque, fur or scales or feathers, but all teeth and terror. I had rejected happy ever after, but terrible was obtainable. To be a beast so singular, they spin a mythic cycle to slay you, weave charms to keep you away from the door. I learned cruelty, became a shifting skin of invincible identity, not the witches they couldn't burn, but the wyvern who burns and cannot cool, the selkie stranded in landlock, the sphinx who can question all comers. A hero said to me, monsters also deserve love. I let him live, knightly armor over those cloven hooves, thought a while about the usual fate of swan maidens and how what is beloved is a thing, not a heart, and certainly not claws and hide, able to strike true without leave of anyone. It is not in the nature of the phoenix to be lonely, and yet a raven maid without an unkindness will wail like a banshee. These stories don't hit the right beats. Monstrous widows, wounded werewolves who run on 3 legs or with 1 eye, houses that fall apart for lack of domovoi, hearts that say love me without saying breed with me, stay with me, become less yourself and more of me. What is kept out of stories is all didactic politics, to say nothing of what stays in. I left the cool dark of my sleeping place, swaddled in skins that fit only at intervals, familiar but discomfiting, set out to stitch together a skin I could live in all the time, a monster's life lived on my own terms. Thank you.
I think you're muted, Akua.
Good, just as well, because I was just swooning. And next, Musée du Puy-Tren, Paris, by Carolyn Klink. No More Prying Eyes by Maxwell I. Gold. Ode by P.H. Lowe. One of Us, Louis Rosenberg. And I know Lee Murray is here, Orchid Moon by Lee Murray.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, thank you. I just don't know. I'm on my laptop and for some reason the video is not working. So lovely to see all your faces and especially to hear about Banks Peninsula. That was a real treat. I'm actually coming to you, although I'm normally coming to you from New Zealand, I'm actually coming to you from Baltimore today, which I'm traveling for the first time in several years. So, but lovely to see you all. And so this is Orchid Moon from Tortured Willows, which is now a Bram Stoker award-winning collection. So thank you. Orchid Moon. While you sleep, little wife cuts wet half moons into your open palms. Like curved beaks they clamour, skylark syllables of despair, dark with putrid breath. While you sleep, fingers domed as a teak cage, you clasp at tumours, bloat bellies with pustulating spite, as half-white tendrils of an unquiet spirit snake bitter through your bones. You slumber still, and outside, on the greasy stoop, little wife flirts with an orchid moon. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. And congratulations. Congratulations. Oh, someone else is here. Okay, next is The Other Crusoe by David Barber. Our Stitching and Unstitching by Hester J. Rook. Our Translucent Bodies by Devin. I don't know if Devin was able to resolve his issues, but he did ask that it be read. And so I will read Devin's poem. He was here, but he had some technology issues. Our Translucent Bodies. We have become translucent as jellyfish. The water has changed us. It happened slowly. Over time, I learned the shape of my mother's bones, the seagrass strands of my sister's veins, the shivering of my love's heart. Our skin still resists the pressure of fingernails and jagged shells and the deep. It still protects us. But we are not safe. We are changing. The cold sea tastes different to us than it did to our grandmothers. Rocks where we used to sun ourselves see only water rippled dimness. Our bodies' borders have become invisible. I reach for my sister's wrist bone and grip too tightly. I press my teeth to the curve of my love's belly and cannot see I have left marks, have left scars, have left tenderness behind me. Though it's hard to forget we are fragile when we can see each pulse, each expanding and contracting of each other's lungs. The fish still shimmer when they swim within reach of the sunlight. The whales are still massive gray islands, bulky bodies in the dark. Only we people of the salt have changed. We look to the jellyfish for advice. How do you love a person you can see through? How do you bury dark truths in a belly full of starlight? How do you swim onwards, knowing you may never reach safety? And the jellyfish tell us, every creature is more than the curve of its domed translucence, more than its shaking tendrils. We have become translucent as jellyfish, but they have taught us, swim onwards. Let your darkness sink to the ocean floor. Love the sinew and spine of your family. You may never reach safety or stop changing, but swim onwards. You cannot see all the way. through the ocean. Devin Miller's Our Translucent Bodies. And the last for this set is Pa and the Devil by Susan E. Wagner. And I guess she's not here. So that concludes the second of our 3 readings of short poems nominated for the 2022 Rhysling Anthology. And as you got to hear, there are so many magnificent works that choosing is both a privilege and a trial. I hope to see you all in 2 weeks on, I believe it's June 3rd, when we do the 3rd of this series of readings of the short poems nominated for the 2022 Rhysling Awards. Thank you all for coming. Stay well.
And thank you. Thank you for moderating. This was great.
Yes, thank you. It's wonderful.
Thank you for coming.
Nonstop body chills listening to everything. So
Absolutely. It just,
Absolutely.
you all are
Absolutely
wonderful, wonderful creators, and I'm gratified to be in your company. And thank you all our guests. Bye.